So, did ayahuasca have anything to do with my kundalini awakening? To be honest, I feel like this whole awakening story has a lot of magic in it. As I mentioned, my kundalini awakening was a sudden or spontaneous kundalini awakening. So I wasn't prepared, basically. And I wasn't trying, and I didn't even know what was a kundalini awakening, and I never heard about the word kundalini before I figured it out later. So ayahuasca. I was actually very hesitant to talk about my ayahuasca experience, just because I did not want my spiritual awakening to be boxed into like, oh, it's just a psychedelic trip she got. And I know it wasn't like that. Because first of all, my kundalini awakening happened 3 months after my ayahuasca ceremony. But the thing is, since I've taken the ayahuasca, the process has started. And it was a very intensive process all the way to the actual kundalini awakening. So did it have anything to do with it? I would say yes and no. I don't think the ayahuasca did the awakening. Like anybody who's gonna take ayahuasca is gonna have a kundalini awakening as a result. Like, definitely not like that. So what happened with me is really, I believe, my intention. My intention with the ayahuasca ceremony. So basically, really, the first step towards this kundalini awakening would have to be considered, as I call phase 1 of the kundalini, was down the gutter. So as I was down the gutter with my life, that's exactly like 3 years ago. 3 years ago, 2022 in June, that was basically the peak of my life going to hell. Even though it went to hell like gradually. In June was just... And I was living in Colombia at the time, and I had to leave Colombia on the 30th of June. And so before I left Colombia, I decided to do the ayahuasca. And my idea was, I'm gonna take the ayahuasca so ayahuasca can help me with my reflections. Because I was going home for a moment of reflection with life. Trying to figure out what to do with my project in Colombia, how to, basically very technical stuff, like how to go forward with this whole project of mine. And, finding a new solution, finding a new plan, making a new kind of strategy and stuff like that. And then I thought ayahuasca could help me with reflecting on these things. And at the same time, like a big part of me going down the gutter was because of a relationship I was in up until the end of my time in Colombia. Basically, me having to leave the country because of the visa issues was what saved me from that relationship, because otherwise I was totally stuck in there and couldn't leave, really. But because now I had a date on it and I had to leave the country anyway, so that's what really... But anyway, this relationship was another failed relationship for me. And this has been the story of my life. A failed relationship after failed relationship. And then I never understood why. What was wrong? What was wrong with me? Why can't I never make it happen? And make it last? And make it peaceful and happy relationship? When all I was craving was a normal, healthy relationship. And I somehow couldn't achieve that ever. So I was really to the point where I was wondering, even though I didn't clearly ask that to ayahuasca, my real question was, what the heck is my problem? What's wrong with me? What's my problem? Why can't I make any relationship work? And then that was like the whole chaos in my life. So going back home for reflection, I thought, ayahuasca, please help me. So I went to a friend in Colombia, in Guatapé. I was actually not sure if I was going to take ayahuasca. I was just going to ask if it was possible. Because my friend, he has this farm, and he made a maloca there, especially for ayahuasca retreats. And I was never very attracted to ayahuasca before. Like, I've heard about it a whole 14 years before. Since 2008, I believe, this is the first time I was invited to a ayahuasca ceremony. I was traveling through the Amazon and met some other tourists, and they were going to do that, and they said, "Do you want to go?" And I was like, "No, thank you." And I was kind of scared when they told me how it was, how it could be, like, just because of the whole purging thing and vomiting, and then, you know, the strong visions and all that was kind of scary to me, and I was like, I don't think it's something for me. And then throughout my whole life, I've been invited again and again to, I've had many opportunities to go to ayahuasca ceremonies, and I never thought that was my time. So the other thing they say is that when it's your time, ayahuasca will call you. And it was exactly like that. I was going back home for reflection, and I thought, now I think it's my time to take the ayahuasca. So anyway, I knew my friend had some because he told me that he was working with this maima, and that the maima left some medicine with him and gave him the permission to share the medicine even when she wasn't there. So I said, let me go say goodbye to my friends. I have other friends, a few places. Say goodbye to my people in Guatapé, in Colombia. And when I go to the farm, I'll ask my friend if he can share some ayahuasca with me. So he took it very seriously. He was like, okay, let me ask. And then he went in an afternoon, and he went out to ask spirits, I guess, the spirits of the ayahuasca, if it was okay to share the medicine with me. And then he came back that night, and he said, yeah, okay, I got the permission. They said it was okay. So he said, let's do it tomorrow night. So the next day we sat, him and I, in Maloca. And it was only me. There was no ceremony that day. It was just me asking my friend to make the ceremony for me, so he did. And so we did the little ceremony. Well, he gave me the medicine, basically, and I figured he gave me quite a bit. He gave me a big cup. Because then I got to do the ayahuasca in the next week again. But then with the maima, the proper maima. And she gave me a small cup. But anyway, then I realized that he gave me a big doses of that stuff. But anyway, for me, I was very calm. I was very centered. I was taking it very seriously, and I wasn't trying to party or to make it like a party, basically. For me, that wasn't about partying with psychedelics. It was very much so something I was looking for help with my life, basically. And when I took the ayahuasca, well, I got, kind of dizzy, and then I laid down on the mattress, and then he did some chantings, and we had this fire going on, and basically I kind of fell asleep. I was laying there, and then I was dizzy, not necessarily sleeping, but I was just laying there being dizzy. And I didn't have any kind of special vision or nothing. The first time I felt like I was going to throw up, then I tried to keep it in and not throw up until I just threw up. So I kept it and ran outside, because it's not one of the, like, he doesn't do the, I watched a lot of ayahuasca experience on other people sharing. And I hear a lot that they give you a bucket to puke in it. And my friend there, he doesn't do that. He makes us go outside and go find some place. He says, go as far as you can and go throw up out in the nature. So anyway, because I ran outside the maloka and I puked right in front of the door. So luckily it was nobody else in that ceremony, so oh well. I threw up in front of the door. And then I didn't have time to put my shoes on, so the grass was really cold. So I jumped on a big rock. There's like a circle of big rocks in front of this maloka door. And I jumped on the big rocks. And as I jumped on the big rocks, I saw like Mayan calendar figures on each of the rocks around me. And yeah, that was it. I recognized the Mayan calendar kind of shape because, you know, I've been to Mexico a lot and went to the Mayan temples, and I've had my name written in Mayan little letters, and so I recognized that those were definitely like Mayan figures on the rocks. But that was it. And then I went back inside, and then he said, time for the second cup. So he gave me another big cup. And then same thing, I just laid down again, and I just laid there until I felt like puking, but then I didn't try to not puke, so I put on my shoes and I went outside further out. I managed to go a little further out and then threw out there, and it wasn't dramatic. I wasn't like throwing up my life or anything. It was kind of just like, you know, I'm pretty used to throwing out when I was younger. I mean, not even just when I was younger, but then I learned to kind of to control that and not drink too much. But I was always one to throw up easily when I drink alcohol. So when I was 18 and stuff like that, I would drink 3 beers and I was already throwing up. So I kind of learned to throw up. I have practice with that, not being so dramatic. But so when I went, I threw up, and then again, I saw on the grass, the whole grass was actually like pot leaves, cannabis leaves, all one into the other is like this, like a mandala with the, but it was all cannabis leaves, like in a not a mandala, but like in a pattern shape of intertwined leaves like this into each other. Like, let's say my hand is the cannabis leaf, like, yeah, so the whole grass was like that. I was like, oh. I thought, let me walk around in the nature, see if I can see or hallucinate some other stuff. And then finally, I tried to walk, and I was like too dizzy. So I said, no, I can't walk. So I just went back in the maloka and laid down on my mat again. And basically I fell asleep. When I woke up, it was about 10 in the morning. So the special thing that happened then is that when I woke up, like my friend, he was also sleeping. So I got outside the maloka and I went to lay down on there's like a big rock. And I thought, I'm going to lay down on that rock. And as I laid down, there was a small guayaba tree. And the guayaba tree, I noticed right away, it was full of this parasite plant. It's like a plant that grows on top of the other tree, and it makes all its roots around the branches, and then it starts making its own leaves. And then it grows, and then it doesn't let the tree make any new leaves. So then I started cleaning that up, taking off all that parasite plant that was onto the guayaba tree. And then it was not a big guayaba tree, it was a small one. But it was completely covered. Basically, the guayaba tree had like 2 of its actual guayaba leaves on the tip of each branches, and that was it. Like, once it loses these 2 little leaves at the tip of each branches, that tree was dead. So I basically saved that guayaba tree. And I took out so much. It ended up naked with its 2 little leaves at the end of each branches. And I took everything of the parasite plant on there. And the thing is, what happened is that when I was pulling on the branches, because some branches were a little it was a little hard to reach. Like I was standing on the big rock, and I was trying to reach these, the tip, because I had to go all the way to the tip, taking off the parasite plants. And the tip was really unreachable, so I tried to pull on the branches, but then I didn't want to break the branch. And the guayaba tree is very hard wood. So thankfully it was kind of thin branches, but as I was pulling try to get to the tip of the branch, I felt the branch go like, and it bended. It kind of bended, like it helped me bend it. So its tip could face me and I could just like, clean it up all the way. And that happened with 2 of the branches. Another one was really like hard to get to the tip. And I was like reaching, and then it bended. Like the tree bent in such a way, I felt it. I felt the tree bent itself. And then I picked out the leaves. And I left the whole tree cleaned up. So my friend, he couldn't believe it. When he saw it, he was like, oh my gosh, all that you took off, because the whole floor was full of the parasite plant. And the tree was now like naked with its 2 little leaves. And he couldn't believe that nobody had noticed that, not even him. Because that tree is in the middle of, like, he's got this maloca, then he's got the temazcal area, and then he's got another kind of hut that is for mambeadero. The mambe is coca powder, and then indigenous people also do like circles where they chew. They don't have to. They take mambe all night and have philosophical discussions. So he's got another room especially for that, and then the maloca especially for the ayahuasca ceremonies, and he's really into it. So in the middle of those huts, the guayaba tree full of parasites, and nobody ever thought about cleaning it up. It was really really, really, really weird. But the weirdest part is how it bended its branches for me to clean it. So that was pretty much it. After that, the next week, I was invited to another ceremony on the Tuesday. Like, that was probably a Friday. The Maima was supposed to come, the actual Maima, who's from Putumayo, the south of Colombia, and she's from the Amazon, and she's shaman from her family lineage. So her grandpa was a shaman, her grandpa was a shaman, her dad was a shaman, now she's a shaman. So this is how normally the shaman lineage is passed down traditionally in those villages, in the tribes in the Amazon. So she is definitely like the most authentic kind of ayahuasca shaman. So she was coming the next week on Tuesday, and he invited me to come back, but then that was not enough time for me. I had a lot of stuff to take care of because I was leaving Colombia, and so that was basically my last week. Or yeah, not even 2 weeks until I had to leave. But then he said, and then the Friday we have like San Juan, St. John, like the 24th of June. 24th of June, we're going to make a bonfire, so if you can't make it for Tuesday, you can come Friday for the bonfire. So I said, okay, maybe I can make it for the Friday. And so I did. I prepared everything, and I came back to this place for the Friday, and what happened? The Maima didn't make it on the Tuesday, so she was there on the Friday. So her ayahuasca ceremony ended up being on the Friday after the bonfire. So I got to do ayahuasca for a second time, a week after the first time. So this time there was more people with us. Maybe we were like 8 people or 10. And the Maima. And they were all Colombians. It wasn't like something, for tourists. I was the only foreigner in the crew. But, so what was very important that I want to share is what the Maima said. So the Maima said that ayahuasca would make a revision of your whole body. And ayahuasca would go through every single part of your body, every single artery and veins and organ, And ayahuasca would make a revision of everything, and everything that needs to be cured will be cured. So I think that's something that really stuck in my head and became my intention, because this actually happened after. Like, not that everything got cured, but I guess everything got cured. Soul, body, and mind got cured by this ayahuasca revision, because I actually got, like, after the whole month after that, I got a whole bunch of stuff curing from my skin. Old warts coming off, like infection, bacteria, or something weird I had in my toes. Sometimes I caught that, probably a tropical kind of bug bit me, and from that I kept having these kind of weird, every now and then it would come back on my toes in between. Anyway, that came out, and I could feel that they came out to go away, and that got cured. And then, the warts, and then the little bugs, and then one day I had a bunch of black dots coming off my nose, and like I got like a facial, like big pieces coming out of my nose, all the blackness. And that happened on another day, all at once. But then the whole month I was having all these, kind of miracle curings. And I felt like that was the work of the ayahuasca when it was happening. I was like, well, there you go, ayahuasca's curing everything up. Maybe the internet cuts the videos now. I'm like, second time I'm making a video and it's happening like that. So yeah, the fact that the Maima put that intention and put that in my head, that ayahuasca was gonna make this whole revision and cure everything, I think that worked out for me. And then what else she said? Well, she said, that she was kind of, justifying the fact that she was making us pay something for the ceremony, because she said that, when she makes the medicine, she has to have other people to help her out. And so first they have to go to the jungle and look for the vines and collect all the material to make the medicine. And then when they do it, she says it's a whole process where for 2 weeks, without sleeping almost, or maybe they take turn sleeping, but then someone at least has to be in charge of making sure the fire doesn't go out. So she says the whole time we're preparing the medicine, the fire cannot go out. And so she has this whole, it sounds very ceremonial, the way that she even make that medicine. And it's like a whole 2-week process, I guess, because they also make a good quantity, because then she takes that out and goes, she travels a lot with her medicine, and she does ceremonies everywhere, even in other countries. She gets invited. So she has her official ID. Her ID is like a shaman, medicine woman ID, officially from the indigenous healers of Colombia, so she has the right to travel with the medicine. And so she was justifying that she was charging us because it was a lot of work, and then she has to travel to the places. And she also mentioned that she, in her tribe, and the healers of the Amazon had the calling from ayahuasca. So they were told by ayahuasca that it was time to take the medicine out of the jungle into the cities to help the people of the city heal. Because apparently ayahuasca said that the people in the city are not going to be able to heal without help. So Maima is like on a mission, coming out of the jungle with her medicine, going all these places with a mission to heal the people from the cities. Because the people from the cities are not all going to come to the jungle to get healed. So that's why it was time for them to go out of the jungle with their medicine. So I get chills when I explain this. It's like very emotional. Emocionante. My Maima, she's so sweet. So I connected a lot with the Maima, and then I think these are the important things that she really put in that intention of healing. So that whole ceremony, again, I was very quiet. I did not try to party Because actually that group I was with, most of them, it wasn't their first time doing the ceremony with the Maima, and they actually do it for 3 nights in a row. So I didn't want to do 3 nights in a row. I was like, I have enough with one, especially because I just did one last week, and now I'm not going to do 3 nights in a row. So I only did the 1 night. And then the next day they told me, the next day I stayed at the place, but I slept that night when they were doing their second night. And when I came to say goodbye in the morning, they were like, yeah, we had so much fun. We sang and we danced and we played music. And I was like, oh yeah. But when I was there, for some reason, nobody even talked. Because she actually said, the Maima said, let's respect each other. Everybody got to do their own work. And so we don't want to make too much noise, and let's be calm. So I don't know, maybe she felt my vibe. I wanted to be calm. I didn't have any intention of singing and dancing and making a party with that experience. So basically I was so weird. Now the whole phone shut down and went black. Okay. La la la. So I was sitting, me and the internet connection sometimes is something very special, but more on that another time. Sitting in that circle of rock that I was mentioning in front of the entrance of the door of the Maloka is like it's like a vagina for your rebirth, and it's just 2 pieces of wood that are curved, and so he used the natural shape of them to make the door. Anyway, just thought of that. So we sat in those rocks, and I was sitting here, and the Maima was actually sitting right next to me, and we were, talking in the morning, and everybody coming out of the Maloka, they were sitting on the circle of rocks, and then one guy came out with his guitar, and as he came out of the Maloka, the light, that was like, for me, it was like the whole play, like the whole, everything got brighter. And then I said, oh wow, you came out just with the first, for me it looked like there was a sun ray, as if it was the first sun ray, because it wasn't, the sun hasn't risen yet. So the first sun ray of the day kind of lit him up when he came out of the Maloka. And I was like, wow, you came out just with the first sun ray. And then the Maima was looking around, and actually there was no sun yet. The sun was going to come out on top of that mountain, and it didn't come out the mountain yet. It was just before, kind of. I mean, the sun probably was, sunrise was already started, but because it's behind the mountain, it didn't light up our little area yet. So as if she was looking around, and then I was like, oh yeah, the sun is not here yet. And so another guy just made a joke, and he said, yeah, you didn't see that when he came out, like he turned on the light bulb? And then we laughed, and then that was it. And I said, but nobody, because before I said, what, nobody else saw the light? And they were like, no, you didn't notice, it's because he turned on the light bulb when he came out. So I was like, okay, ha ha ha. But that was it. That stayed like that. And then I discovered later on that this man that came out of the Maloka when it shined, he probably is someone who's in my soul tribe. What am I got that deviated. I was gonna say he's got his YouTube channel about consciousness talks. And so he's really into it. He understands the whole spiritual awakening thing. Like, he knows about that stuff. And I haven't met many people. I didn't get to see him again. And then once I got home, he told me, we kept in touch a little bit. And he told me to sing that song for him and send it to him. I don't know if he wanted to learn it or what. And then I told him about what happened, the incident that put me in this traumatic state. Right after the ceremony, a friend that I even had invited with me at the ceremony, an incident happened with her, and that's what put me That was on the last day before I left Colombia. And that did that I came to Canada on the first day in a total state of shock. And then for 1 month I was like, and this is how keeps cutting out. The video stops on its own. I started this process of studying about trauma, post-traumatic symptoms. What can I do about it? I was just trying to save myself, get myself out of this completely paralyzed, traumatized state. And this is how everything started tumbling down, and then I got into this altered state of being where I was just absorbed with the studies of narcissism and trauma and post-traumatic states and symptoms, and then childhood wounds, post-traumatic states and symptoms and behaviors, and child psychology and subconscious to unconscious, subconscious. That was the end. But first, the human condition and our toxic ways. So anyway, that was like the whole process that I fell into afterwards. And this whole time I thought, Ayahuasca is helping me with this. Ayahuasca is guiding my studies. Because everything I studied, one thing after the other, came in clicking, making me go deeper into the subject until I understood the subconscious, the unconscious, subconscious thing. And then I also understood that the heart was blocked and we couldn't feel emotions. And the day I was making an exercise to actually feel an emotion into my heart, when I felt it, I got this revelation that said, there we go again. So this revelation that said, listen to your heart, is something literal. And this is when the whole kundalini first wave of energy came out. And so did ayahuasca make that kundalini awakening for me? It definitely helped me with it, because I felt the whole time that ayahuasca was guiding my studies and basically took me by the hand all the way to this, everything I needed to understand to be kind of granted this great kundalini awakening. So this is how this wasn't planned, but then maybe ayahuasca did have something to do with it, since my intention was, first of all, to figure out what was wrong with me. I think something's weird with my phone. Anyway, makes me lose it. I already lost like a whole part that I did actually concluding this video, and then I lost it, so maybe I'm not even gonna repeat because there was a lot of blah blah blah. Just saying anyway that ayahuasca did guide me all the way to the kundalini awakening, and that was because of my intention of ayahuasca helping me with my reflection and figuring out what was wrong with me in my life, and then the intention the Maima put into me of healing and going a whole revision of my whole body and healing everything that needed to be healed, including my soul and my mind. So this put this other intention into the second ceremony, and I think this is how this all happened. But did we even get to the part where my friend came out of the maloca with the light? Wait a second. So now that I actually edited this video, I realized something. And there was 3 signs of illumination during these 2 ceremonies. The first one was the Mayan calendar would be, right, a sign of 2012 and the beginning of the Great Awakening of humanity. Then, yes, the story of the friend who came out of the maloca and the light went on. And the other friend even talked about a light bulb that got lit. And the other one is actually a story I mentioned in the part that I lost from the video, but that was that at the end of the ceremony with the Maima, I asked to sing a song, and I was inspired to sing this song in Japanese, and it's the song of the Day of the Children in Japan. It's called Hina Matsuri, the Matsuri, the celebration of the Day of the Children. But the song, I realized also later that this song actually talks about illumination or enlightenment. It has the emperor and the empress, like they have this traditional dolls in Japan. They always organize the same way, with the emperor and the empress on the top. Then they have the 3 servants, and then they have the 5 musicians. And this whole setup is like an altar for honoring the Shinto religion in Japan. And this song is talking about these dolls or these structure. But then you have the emperor and the empress who are like sitting in bliss, and the whole song starts with lighting up the light bulb. Let's light the light bulb. Let's light the lanterns. And so this was actually a song about enlightenment, because then everybody is sharing and they're talking about abundance and how they're having a good time. Anyway, I figured the whole thing has stuff to do with being and living in this state of like everything beautiful. Maybe the 5th dimension. A Japanese song about the 5th dimension, would it be? Anyway, I wish you all a great journey, and much love and much blessings. Talk to you soon.